Joining us today is our guest, Dr. Galit Ben-Tovel, an organizational consultant and expert in Egyptology and the author of the book Messiah's Code. Thank you so much for joining us, Galit.
Yeah, so happy to be with you today.
We're so happy to have you.
So one of the most fascinating parts of your book is the major discovery you made in your research. Can you tell us a bit about it?
So in 2014, I made a discovery that actually changed my perspective about the story of Exodus. I discovered the word Messiah written in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic. I'm an Egyptologist, so my research is about the ancient Egypt. And why I started being so curious about ancient Egypt is because I wanted to find the roots of the story of Exodus.
Okay.
To decipher whether it was a true story or not, a legend or historical fact. I mean, this is a big question that we are talking now, and I know that many scholars, some will say that it's just a legend, others will say no, there are not enough proof. So with this challenge, that it's a challenge that for generations we are talking about this question, I came across this word that became also a name of a certain prince. The first prince of the 18th dynasty in Egypt. And when I discovered this word, I realized that the word actually is a combination of three different signs. One are three tails of a fox. The second one is like a tissue or a cloth that you can wrap yourself with. And the third one is the crescent moon. And when you read his name in reverse, you are getting the sound Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you read it the other way around, what you are getting is the name Ahmose. So as we said, we have the three signs, right? So there is the picture, but the ancient Egyptians also are creating a meaning, okay, that comes with a sign. So it's not only the picture that you see in the word Messiah, but it can also be read as a sentence. And what we are getting from the word Messiah phonetically in ancient Egyptian means conceived by the moon. Maybe I have to say one thing about the moon in his name. In ancient time, when you have the moon in your name, it means that you are possessing the quality of the moon inside of you. So the name of a person is not just a fashionable name, It's not because I knew someone that I really loved and I decided to call my son with the same name. In ancient times, it comes with quality.
Right.
The name become you.
Not just in ancient times.
Yes, I agree with you.
It's just that they were aware of it.
Yes.
They did it intentionally.
Right.
It came with a role.
Exactly, it came with a role. And this is how I started to dig a little bit and start researching this moon worship. Now, why it's so important to understand what happened? Because the 18th dynasty in Egypt is all about the moon. Most of the kings and queens are connected to the moon there. And it's so bizarre because when you're looking at the history of the ancient Egyptian, it's all about the sun. The center of the worship that is the center of this culture is the sun. They call the sun Ra.
Right.
So you have to understand my my surprise when I saw that the 18th dynasty, suddenly the moon became the primary god. What happened in this period? We are talking about ancient Egypt, they have 30 dynasties. So only one dynasty is all about the moon.
Right.
And the center of the moon in this period, in this ancient time, is not in Egypt. Is in Ur and Haran, which is in Mesopotamia. Okay, today we're going to say East Turkey, okay, Iraq, or the other part. So what happened that suddenly, in this time in Egypt, the moon became the primary god? What is interesting that I came to actually discover what happened in the story of Exodus, to understand if Moses was a real person or not, what really was all about, and where is Eretz Goshen, the land of Goshen and so on. Now, the prince that I think is Moses, that his name is known today by scholar going with the name Ahmose, when you reverse his name, you get Messiah, but you also get conceived by the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So he was definitely connected to the moon worship.
Right.
And the slavery, this is what I think, this is what I discovered in my book, that the slavery that we are talking about in the Bible started because there was a king, maybe even more than one, who decided to bring, or if you want, to force the sun worship upon the moon people.
What does that mean exactly?
So it means that you need to follow the rule of the sun if you want. So we are talking about a society, as I said, with a strong tradition. You need to follow specific rules. If we speak about individuality, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And when we speak about the moon, when I started to dive into this culture and worship, so it's actually an opposite worship than the sun. It's all about change.
Right.
Okay, not only about change, embracing the change. Life is change. And we are talking about nomads. Nomads, yes. The one that worship the moon were nomads, so in all the area of the ancient Near East. And it was about change, embracing, about life, no hierarchy, movement, wisdom, helping one another. And so in this time, this is what I think, that the story of Exodus was a clash between these two philosophies. And eventually Moses came from the moon people, liberated the moon people from the oppression of the sun people, and actually created a new nation based on the moon principle.
Or tried to.
Tried to, exactly.
Started to.
Started, yes. And this is how I started my first footstep. I said, okay, so if I think it's Moses, and he was connected to the moon, because he has the moon in his name, for my surprise, not only that I discovered the story, and I could see it in different lenses, but I discovered the wisdom that was much older than the story of Exodus,
Right.
and it's the wisdom of the moon.
Right.
And we are talking about the wisdom that speaks that there is a synchronicity between the different phases of the moon and the way people used to live in our planet. If you want, the moon was like a compass. Just maybe a small detail. The biggest change of the story of Exodus was the depart of Egypt, right?
Right.
Going, toward the promised land, right? And it happened on the most important day of the moon calendar. You left Egypt when the moon flipped to the other side. It was the time of Exodus. So we also have it in the Bible.
Okay.
So it's so interesting if you look at the story of Exodus as a moon guide, to understand all the rules. And so there is a lot of wisdom inside of it. You can definitely take part of it to help us today, in the world of today. Okay, so how can I run my life and plan better? And what are the actions that you should do? I mean, it's much deeper than that, but it's a start.
Absolutely.